unexpected midweek set of week notes. Uh, Mainly because I realized there was something I forgot to include in this past Sunday's week notes, and I wanted to include it before I forgot again. But I just wanted to say that other drivers on the road are incredibly stupid, and there's a high amount of stupid things going on. I'm surprised I didn't see one accident this evening driving home. There was one particularly stupid act, uh, was very very close to a bad accident, and I'm just very happy that it wasn't and it didn't happen. But there's way too much stupid on the roads out there. So what I wanted to do was, um, I wrote last week about my bullet journal setup, and I realized that it's quite a simple setup. And I had the idea to, well, what I would want to do is like create a video, because one of the things that's out there with bullet journals, it's the common refrain is that it feels intimidating to start one. But that's because most of the bullet journal videos and tutorials out there are from like quote unquote influencers who are also basically trying to sell things, whether it's through affiliate links or things that they themselves create to sell. And I wanted to write like a tutorial and do a video of it, but um, I'm not a video person. I'm an audio person, and that's why I'm doing the podcast. And I thought about writing this out as well, but I thought it'd be kind of a fun thing to just walk through. And this is very short, so you don't have to stay with me very long. But the basics of it, though, are, um, visit Ryder Carroll's website and try to find the original videos of how to set up a bullet journal, or just find his book in the library. I think it's just called like How to Bullet Journal or something. But the author is Ryder Carroll. You can find it at any library, I'm sure. That's how I read it. I didn't need the book when I read it, but I was curious to see what the content was. But let me just start off by saying all that you need for a bullet journal is any notebook whatsoever. It doesn't have to be Moleskine or Leuchtturm, or however you pronounce it, or the official bullet journal. You don't need a specific kind of paper. You can just grab like those coiled Hilroy notebooks. Those would work actually very well, I think, especially if you're just trying it out. And then for writing, all you need for that is ballpoint pen or a pencil. Very simple. Everybody has some sort of simple writing utensil, and that's all that you need is a notebook and a pen or a pencil. And after that, the setup is super simple. The way I was thinking about it as a metaphor would be setting it up like how I set up my most recent photo blog, which is I created it in stages and added things as I needed it or wanted to implement it. So like I didn't want to set out. So if you go to photos.srgower.com, you can see what is the current final result. I've got um, a main page with a grid of photos. Each photo has tags, and you can navigate by tags to view the full archive. There's analytics there, that kind of thing. But that's not how I built it. Like I didn't build it with like everything all at once. I built it starting from the basics, and I had like a roadmap of what I wanted to include, but I added things as I went. So the result that you see on that website is the culmination of several things going together. So that's kind of how I see a beginner approaching a bullet journal, which is starting with the basics, just any notepad, pen or pencil. All the really basic components that I see it are um, a calendar for the current month, and you can do that in any kind of form. I think the bullet journal official way of doing it is just putting the numbers of the month, the days of the month on the left side, draw a line, and write any kind of events or meetings or whatever on the other side of that number, and that's one page. And then after that, each entry is like a daily entry, and you write down today's date, write down any meetings or whatnot that you might have that you know of, write down any to-do items. If you need to make a note of something, jot it down with a little dash. And really, that's the basics of it. And when you complete an item, put an X through the dot, and it's done. And that's the basics. You've got a bullet journal. If you want to get a little more complicated, you can add an index at the beginning so that you can keep track of. So, let's say like 6 months down the line, you want to find something that you wrote in March. So you go to your index and say, okay, March is on these pages. So you don't have to flip through and figure out where March is. And then some people, like myself included, on the month, I have a separate page which has like monthly goals or to-do items or something like that they kind of get moved to the daily pages when I write them as needed. You can also include at the beginning of the book a future log, which is just basically a list of the next 12 months. 12 months if you're in January, but I just do like the calendar year, I guess, if I were to start a book in the middle of a year. And the future calendar is just exactly what it sounds like. If you say you make a dentist appointment for November, you would write down under November the date and the time of the appointment, and then when you come up to creating your calendar for November, you just refer back to your future log and just mark down anything that you had marked down in the future log. And I think you could also use that like for things that you need to do, I guess. But for me, I like to keep the future log as minimal as possible so it doesn't get too cluttered. And generally, I use it to note down birthdays and anniversaries and that kind of thing. That's what I use it for. So that's pretty much it. So that's what I would say the basics. And then from there, if you need more, you can build it out. And that's how you create a bullet journal. And that's really the spirit of it can be anything you want, which unfortunately by the influencers got like turned around and said it can be anything you want. So they wanted fancy drawings, fancy notebooks, stickers, markers, all sorts of stuff. And that's just how it got interpreted. But I think what's important to remember is that, yes, a bullet journal can be whatever you need it to be, but it can also be as little as you need it to be, if that makes sense. In other words, if you don't need all the bells and whistles, then don't put them in there. That's pretty much it. Anyway, that was my midweek update for this is week 4. So I'll probably have more stuff at the end of the week. I may or may not. I don't know. But I'm going to try to be a little bit less rushed with it this week because I think that's why I missed a lot of things in my last set of week notes for week 3 is because I kind of just rushed things. I got lazy with it. So we'll see how the rest of this week goes. Oh, and the music at the beginning was Southern Gothic by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com.